Hey everyone, today I'm going to explain an amazing Telugu horror supernatural movie called Valari, which was released this March. The movie has an impressive IMDb rating of 8.6 out of 10, so you can imagine how interesting it's going to be. You'll really enjoy watching it, but you might feel a little scared too. Now let's dive right into the story. The movie begins on June 1st, 2007 in a village called Krishnapatnam. Here we see a girl who kills her parents with a pin. There's also an accusation against her that she has hidden her brother. The girl, however, has no memory of any of this, so she is placed in an orphanage. The next scene takes us to 2023, introducing a woman named Divya, her son Madan, and her husband Naveen. Naveen is a Navy officer and often gets transferred due to his job. They live a happy life together, and in a conversation, Divya shares with Naveen that she's been having strange dreams, which makes her quite anxious. We also learn that Divya had a terrible accident a long time ago, which caused a severe head injury, leading to memory loss. After this, she met Naveen, they fell in love, and eventually got married. Naveen deeply loves her and encourages her to focus on the present. At this point, Naveen mentions his latest transfer to Krishnapatnam, the village we saw at the start of the movie. When they arrive, they're given a single-room flat, as no two-room government flats are available at the moment, which annoys Naveen a bit, but he decides to manage for a few days. The next day, Divya is on her way to drop her son off at school, and she's taking a lot of photos on her phone. As they pass by a house called Valari House, something strange happens. Divya feels drawn to the house and takes a picture of it, almost as if the house is calling her. At that moment, a ring rolls out from the house toward her son, who picks it up, and Divya decides to keep it. Everything seems normal for a while. Later, we see Divya making juice. She gets a call from a friend, and while she's distracted, the juicer turns on by itself, making a mess in the kitchen. Just then, the same ring that her son found rolls back toward her. Divya doesn't think much of it and casually throws the ring in the trash while cleaning up. When Naveen comes home that evening, they all sit together and talk. But when Divya goes to the kitchen, she experiences a hallucination similar to what she felt outside Valari House. Divya feels as though she's standing right in front of Valari House. She gets really scared, and Naveen steps in to calm her down. The next day, Divya is taking her son to school again. But as they pass by Valari House, she sees an extra shadow next to hers and her son's, appearing as if there's another child with them. When Divya looks around, no one else is there, and suddenly her son Madan is missing. She panics, but in the next scene, we see Madan has safely reached school and is talking to an old woman at the gate before heading inside. Later, when Divya and Madan are home, Naveen calls to let them know he won't be able to come home due to bad weather. Madan responds with a quick okay and ends the call. Soon after, Divya gets a text from her friend saying that Divya's profile shows several photos of Valari House. Surprised, Divya checks her phone and finds multiple pictures of the house posted on her status. She assumes Madan might have done it as a joke and deletes the photos, then goes about her day. Later, as Madan is sitting with the phone, he receives a strange call. When he answers, he hears terrifying noises on the other end. Startled, he leaves the phone and goes to bed, but the phone unlocks itself, and Valari House's photo sets itself as his status again. This confirms that something is deeply connected to Valari House. The next day, Divya takes an auto rickshaw to get her phone checked. During the ride, the driver picks up a pin and asks if it belongs to her. When Divya touches it, she feels strange. The pin looks exactly like the one we saw in the beginning, the same type that was used by the girl to harm her parents. Divya, not knowing this, takes the pin and puts it in her bag. We then see Naveen speaking with his senior officer, requesting a better place to stay. His senior advises him to look around for any available appointments or empty housing options nearby. Meanwhile, Divya goes to the village's land records office to find information about Valari House. At first, the officer refuses to tell her anything, but after she offers him 500 rupees, he agrees to meet her in 2 days to discuss it. It seems corruption is present here too. Afterward, Divya is in an auto rickshaw, heading to pick up her son from school. Suddenly, she feels as if her son is sitting right beside her. But when she turns to look, she sees a figure covered in blood. Shocked, she screams loudly, which causes the auto driver to lose control, and they end up in an accident. When Divya opens her eyes, she sees her husband Naveen and her son Madan sitting beside her. But she doesn't recognize them at all. Her memory has vanished once again. Concerned, Naveen speaks to a doctor, who suggests seeing a psychiatrist to help with her memory issues, and Naveen agrees. In her first session, we meet the psychiatrist named Rudra. He calls Divya Dashani, which confuses her, and she corrects him with her real name. Rudra explains he was just testing her memory. They chat for a while, and we then see Naveen and Madan discussing their living arrangements. Naveen decides to change their residence and ends up renting Valari House, where he had previously seen photos on Divya's phone. However, there's a rumor that the place is haunted. Naveen manages to contact the house's owner, Ramachandra, who warns him about the ghostly presence in the house. But Naveen, skeptical, dismisses it as superstition. Meanwhile, Rudra has another session with Divya, again calling her Dashani, and she corrects him once more. Rudra claims he's still checking her memory. During this session, Rudra notices the pin in Divya's bag, the same one from the start of the movie. When he hands it to her, she remembers everything, except for the time before her accident. Rudra explains that even though her memory has returned, she should continue weekly sessions, and she agrees. After Divya's recovery, she's discharged from the hospital and they move into Valari House. Divya feels strange in the house, but she tries to ignore it. However, when she goes to take a shower, the water suddenly turns into blood and she feels as though someone is trying to drown her. Terrified, she escapes the bathroom. Later that night, she hears knocking on the bathroom door from the outside. Thinking it might be Naveen playing a prank, she checks on him, only to find him sound asleep. Horrified, she clings to him in fear. The next evening, Divya goes out to buy some things and comes across a jewelry store. When she decides to buy some bangles, the shopkeeper looks at her, stunned, almost as if he's seen a ghost. Divya, still haunted by visions and strange occurrences, leaves the jewelry store and heads to a toy shop. The shopkeeper wraps the toy in an old newspaper, which features an article from the day the girl at the beginning of the movie murdered her parents. As Divya reads this disturbing news, a sense of deja vu overwhelms her, and she starts experiencing strange hallucinations. Just then, she receives a call from Rudra, the psychiatrist, asking why she missed her session. He says he's at the hospital waiting for her, but Divya realizes he's actually somewhere nearby in the market. She tries to follow him, but Rudra suddenly vanishes. Later that night, Divya's recurring nightmare returns, jolting her awake. She hears a strange sound coming from outside, a noise her voice detector device is picking up, but it can't fully capture the voice. When she steps outside, she sees Madan staring at her oddly and offering her a ring, saying if she wears it while sleeping, her nightmares will stop. Shocked, Divya returns to the house with him, only to find Madan already asleep in his bed. Realizing the figure she saw wasn't her son, Divya is terrified. Naveen, concerned, comes looking for Divya and finds her shaken. She dismisses it as a side effect of her new medication, which she feels is affecting her perception. The next day, Divya decides to find out the truth about Valari House once and for all. She retrieves documents from the land office and discovers that the house doesn't actually belong to Ramachandra. Instead, it's registered under the name Dashini Divya, revealing that the property is, in fact, hers. Divya, baffled by the discovery, shares everything with Naveen, and they go to confront Ramachandra. When Ramachandra sees Divya, he's visibly shocked and remarks that she looks exactly like her mother, whose name was also Divya Dashini. The connection hits Divya deeply, and she realizes there's a much larger mystery at play here. Ramachandra then reveals a startling truth: Divya is actually his niece, the daughter of his elder brother, Raja Ram, a former government official. Years ago, Raja Ram had left the village for work, where he met a talented, kind-hearted woman named Bala Amrita. They fell in love and got married. This revelation adds layers to the mystery, suggesting that Divya's ties to Valari House are far deeper than she ever imagined. Ramachandra continues recounting the tragic story of Divya's past. Divya's parents, Raja Ram and Bala Amrita, lived peacefully in Valari House with their 2 children. But one day, in an unexpected turn of events, both her parents passed away mysteriously, and young Divya left the house. However, she was the only one who knew what truly happened that fateful night. Now, after her accident, Divya has lost all memory of her parents, her brother, and even the events that transpired before her accident. Ramachandra hands over all the house deeds and property papers to Divya, Recognizing that Valari House rightfully belongs to her, Divya and Naveen realize they no longer need to pay rent, as the house is legally hers. This twist of fate feels both fortunate and eerie, as Divya has been unknowingly drawn back to the very place where her parents met their tragic end. Whether this was destiny or a darker force bringing her back remains to be seen. That night, Divya is alone with her son Madana, who enters the room humming an unsettling tune. A strange rage fills Divya, and losing control, she confronts Madana harshly. Just as she's about to do something drastic, Naveen intervenes and slaps Divya, bringing her back to her senses. Shocked and confused, Divya realizes she had almost hurt her own son, but doesn't understand what came over her. Naveen comforts her and then checks on Madana, only to find him severely ill, foaming at the mouth and unresponsive. Panicking, Naveen decides to rush Madana to the hospital. Divya tries to accompany them, but the front door suddenly slams shut, trapping her inside. Naveen attempts to open it, but the door closes again. Divya urges him to leave quickly to save their son, sensing that something malevolent is holding her back. After Naveen and Madana leave, terrifying events begin to unfold within the house. Lights flicker on and off erratically, and the mysterious ring rolls across the floor toward Divya. As she picks it up and puts it on, flashes of memories flood her mind, allowing her to recall her life before the accident. The scene shifts back to Divya's childhood, where her parents, in celebration of her 13th birthday, were preparing a grand ritual. As the story continues to unfold, we learn that Divya's parents, Raja Ram and Bala Amrita, left the house to invite family members for her 13th birthday celebration. Before leaving, they asked Divya to stay with her younger brother, Akana, as he often fell ill, much like Madana in the present. It is here that we discover a shocking twist. The psychiatrist Rudra, who was guiding Divya in her visions, is actually the spirit of her father, Raja Ram. This explains why Rudra referred to her as Dashani, a name only Raja Ram used for Divya. The day Rudra vanished in the marketplace was because he was in fact a ghost. As Divya's parents left, young Akana, curious, tried to open an old chest in the house. This chest, well secured, required a set of instructions to unlock. Divya was preoccupied, but Ramachandra, her abusive uncle, entered the room. Both siblings tried to hide. They feared him because he had repeatedly abused them. Ramachandra found Akana and began his usual abusive behavior. Terrified, Divya hid in the bathtub. But in the middle of his abuse, Akana's health worsened. Suddenly, Ramachandra heard Raja Ram and Bala Amrita returning. Panicked, he shoved Akana into the chest, the very one he had been trying to open, and shut it. Bala Amrita walked in and saw what was happening. Realizing the horrific truth, enraged, Bala Amrita attacked Ramachandra, but he grabbed a sharp object and killed her. Ramachandra then closed the chest, concealing Akana within it. Meanwhile, Divya, who was holding a hairpin, managed to unlock the bathroom door. She attempted to escape, but Ramachandra caught her and tried to kill her as well. In a desperate bid to escape, Divya ran toward her father, who had just entered the house. But as she ran up the stairs, Ramachandra pushed her. The hairpin she was holding accidentally plunged into her father's eye, fatally injuring him. Divya also suffered a severe head injury from the fall, causing her to lose all memory of her past. Ramachandra, in his cunning, spread the rumor around the village that Divya had murdered her own family. He claimed that she had killed her parents and hidden her brother somewhere in the house, knowing no one would search the locked chest. Back in the present, Divya now remembers everything. She realizes that she has been manipulated and haunted by her uncle's terrible actions. The movie reaches a climactic point as she confronts her traumatic past, finally understanding the truth behind her family's tragedy and her own forgotten history. In the final scenes, Divya's memories fully return and she realizes the depth of her tragic past. Akana, her little brother, had tragically died inside the chest. His illness rendered him motionless and silent, so no one heard him, and he couldn't escape. The cruel fate he suffered had haunted the house ever since. As she recalls these memories, Divya is overwhelmed with sorrow and sits on the floor crying. She realizes it was her destiny to return to this house and uncover the truth about her family. Suddenly, the voices of Raja Ram and Akana fill the room, reassuring her that she was never at fault. They encourage her to let go of any guilt and seek justice for the wrongs done to them. Divya's husband Naveen arrives home but reveals that he left their son Madana with Ramachandra. Shocked and furious, Divya rushes to Ramachandra's house, fearing that he might harm Madana just as he did to Akana. She finds Ramachandra manipulating Madana, attempting the same twisted acts. Filled with rage, Divya confronts Ramachandra, attacking him relentlessly until he admits to his crimes. But a mere confession isn't enough for Divya. Determined to make him suffer for his sins, she binds his hands and drags him to the very chest where he had locked away Akana. In a final act of poetic justice, the chest collapses onto Ramachandra, killing him instantly. This signifies that supernatural forces, the spirits of her father and brother, had intervened to end his reign of terror. With Ramachandra's death, Divya is finally free from the haunting past that had plagued her. The film concludes with her finding peace, having uncovered and confronted the dark secrets of her family. As the credits roll, we're left with a deep sense of catharsis. This film, rated an impressive 8.6 on IMDb, stands out for its gripping storytelling, mature cinematography, and intense performances. From start to finish, it keeps viewers glued to the screen, blending horror and drama masterfully. If you enjoyed this explanation, don't forget to subscribe and like for more movie breakdowns. Thank you for watching and take care.